I noticed that. So you're kind of this financial guy, or financial liaison even, to like Gen Z or millennials. I mean, it could be anyone, but I feel like that's kind of like, it seems to me like that's kind of like the world that you work with.
Yeah, that's who got attached to it. We age range in that like 18 to 35. That's our big group. That's
Okay.
where our metrics are right now.
And you're helping people with their finances. Like, what kind of qualified you to become sort of this person who's offering suggestions to others?
Yeah, I mean, since the stuff I talk about is so basic, I was a dumbass enough, like back in the day, to overcome all that debt, get control of my spending, learning how to budget, get kind of obsessed with the personal finance space, build a pretty successful net worth before I started YouTube, and just sitting down and talking to the people in the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Since I was there, felt like those are the people I could talk to. Not talking to the Theo Vaughns, not helping you with your investments, but we're talking about the lady who has tens of thousands of dollars of credit card debt, some car she can't afford, and getting repoed left and right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you kind of have this like Jerry Springer meets finances kind of energy, which is, it's awesome.
We call it Caleb Springer. That's what we call
really?
it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, man. Yeah, it's super fascinating. But like, so what was your financial problem? Just so I know, like, where did you start where you're like, oh, okay, I'm in a bad spot?
College I was so dumb in college, man. Just starting to go into it. I was going into a major that wasn't going to make any money. I wanted to go into music. And of course, if you're going to go into music, you have to have like a $50,000 computer or whatever. It's some nice, beautiful iMac. So max out a credit card with that. Got to have an electric piano. You got to be cool. You got to be like the other music majors. Max out a credit card with that. Why cook when you're tired from school? Go to McDonald's every day. And that's before I was even a fat fuck. Like, I was just able to consume those and still be skinny, but max out a credit card with that. Got to get around. So I maxed out. I got like a $10,000, $11,000 car loan, but I couldn't afford the down payment. Of course, I didn't know anything about money. So I borrowed like $5,000 from the grandparents just to get a down payment on a car. It's the same stuff we're seeing on the show.
So you were just in a bad spot.
Bad spot. Private student loans too, man. It was rough.
And had you been getting advice from anybody, or you were just?
No, this was generational. My parents, even though they are better now, I'll give them credit there. We grew up definitely lower middle class, foreclosure notices, that kind of stuff. And at that point, when the people who would teach you about that kind of stuff, because our school system really doesn't, at least in Michigan, and I don't think Texas either. At that point, you rely on them to teach you, but they didn't know anything. So I was just continuing that cycle. So every time you see people coming from a lower middle class background or a poverty background, it's just that endless cycle because you can't learn from anywhere. And you have to get that drive somehow.
Right. Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, I was always kind of amazed that they didn't teach us in school. Like, if you didn't have a strategy, like they would have people come for, like parents would come, or people in our community that had jobs would come and talk to us, but they never had like people that had really fucked up. They never had like a crack addict come and talk to the class for 20 minutes and be like, this is how this happened, right? Or they never had anybody that was selling leg or selling cooter or whatever on the street tell like, hey, this is how things fell apart. Like, they never had that other side of somebody who was like in a second bankruptcy, or somebody who'd been abused in a marriage. It's like you never really got. You always just got the like, I'm a fireman, and it'd be like, and the kids would be like, awesome,
Yeah.
And the guy would let you play with his axe or whatever. It's like, but you never got like the other side of it. It's kind of crazy that they don't have that just in like kind of elementary education,
Dude, it's crazy. I think it's like a 1 week subject in the class where they also spend like 2 weeks showing you birthing videos.
Yeah.
This is something that passes over real quick.
Okay, so you were bad off.
Real bad.
And how did you get unbad off?
I just started becoming obsessed with, I was always interested in the world of real estate. So like HGTV, I ate that shit up. I don't know why. This is that weird kid who loved HGTV.
Yeah.
So, all the different home shows, I was interested in real estate. And that's kind of just a decent connection and segue over to personal finances. So eventually, once I started realizing, can't afford rent, I started just Googling some things, and I found some other creators, some other podcast, like Bigger Pockets podcast is really good. I think I started
Bigger Pockets, it's called?
Yeah, it's really
Okay.
good. Those in real estate. Do you know Graham Stephan, the finance YouTuber?
Let's see a picture of him.
Yeah, little short dude.
Graham Stephan. Nope, I don't know him.
He's one of the OG finance YouTubers, and I think I started watching him when he was up and coming. And I was like, wow, I can't believe how absolutely stupid I am with finances. I didn't even know there was this other world. And then to accomplish the things I dream of accomplishing, it's going to take actually marking the goals I want to get to and the different steps that are required to get there. And that's where I started to actually focus on building the income, not just the hobby stuff. You know, I was doing music composition and, you know, I was making like $30,000 a year off of that in college and dropped out of college. But from there, I just knew I had to go get stronger income, actually build myself a budget. And that's when I started, you know, looking to move in different areas. And I got a connection down in Austin. And that's when, like, I actually started putting the focus in pointing my money in the right direction, building a budget for the first time. And it's been good since then.
Yeah. Okay, so you started to put your money back together. Like you started, I mean, did you pay off some of those things? Did you get rid of the car? You said you dropped out of school. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you just realized it wasn't for you or.
Okay, it's going to sound like the most arrogant, cunty thing ever. But like, I was actually making more on my music compositions than my own professors did on their own compositions. So I was like, why am I spending more money to go in school?
Okay,
so
so
that's when I dropped out.
Okay, you already
Yeah.
felt like you kind of been able to learn what they were going to teach you over a course of a long time.
Kind of. I mean, I like the lessons and stuff, but then I still had to go to all these other classes that don't matter, and I had to spend money on that.
Right.
Or at least things that were going for the degree. But at that point, I still knew nothing about personal finances. Once I moved to Austin, I wanted to get a job that focused on me being my own business, essentially. That's what I was doing with music composition. And one of the best jobs that just like you and I could go get today if we wanted to, where your own business is sales.
Okay.
You know, you are your business. You're out there building the client base. And that's what I ended up doing. And with that, I reached the top of the sales team immediately.
Selling.
Selling, it was trading education, you know, like stock trading and some memberships and stuff like that.
Okay, so no, I'm not familiar with what you're talking about.
Like stock market.
Okay, so you became an investor?
No, I was selling classes that taught people how to become day traders and stuff.
Okay, so day trading courses.
Really bad products, I'll be honest. But,
Really?
you know, I just had to, you know, I was taking the job that would hire.
Okay, so the actual product wasn't a good product, or you thought it was?
It was fine. Just people shouldn't be day traders. That's the thing.
Oh, I see.
It's like 90% lose money. It's not that the people that were teaching it were bad or the education itself was bad. It's just like that's probably too risky for your average person to get into.
So it's just a risky thing to get into.
Risky to get into, but luckily the people I was selling to, they were with people with too much money, too much time.
Oh, they were?
Yeah, it wasn't like
You weren't selling it to children or whatever.
No.
Okay.
No. Especially since, I mean, I think you have to be 18 to open a brokerage, or at least to open those kind of accounts, if I'm not mistaken. But actually being able to build that like personal business, personal brands, and getting to the top of the sales team, eventually getting to the place, you know, bringing in 6 figures.
Wow.
Grinding for a couple years, I focused on paying off my grandparents first because it was family debt. It's a little emotional. That's probably not what I would necessarily suggest today to people that I'm talking to, but that's what felt right in that moment. And then the credit cards.
Is what paying off your grandparents, you mean?
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, because you have to see them. You still have to answer their calls, and you have to hear the timbre in your grandmother's voice, you know, knowing that they're concerned about their future because they're missing a little bit of their nest egg.
Exactly. And they were nice enough to give me that money in a hard time. I got to be nice enough to prioritize paying it back.
Right.
And then the 30% credit cards I had from there, about $10,000 total in credit card debt. And then Sally Mae, you know that bitch?
Oh, yeah, the loan specialist?
Oh, yeah. No, she's not great. So I had some like 12% interest, private student loan debt, maybe 15%. It just kept ballooning. So I focused on paying that off after that.
But those are private ones, right? So there's ones you get from the state that are lower percentage? Okay.
Yep, I had federal backed student loans. I still do because I'm not going to pay them off because they're only 4%. No, actually, mine are like 3%. So I'd rather invest instead.
Right.
So I'm just doing my minimum monthlies there. But so because Sally and her 15% were just so crappy, I focused on paying those off next. And then eventually my car debt as well, because that was also like 11% for a Nissan Altima, 2013. I don't know if you're a Nissan Altima girly, but their transmissions, they all die immediately.
Yeah.
So it was like 60,000 miles and the transmission was dying.
Yeah.
So, and I already owed debt on it.
Oh, yeah. Altima is definitely, a lot of Latinos would drive them, I know. and then my ex-girlfriend drove one.
Oh.
Okay, so you started to get out of debt. You got some money going. You found out that, okay, you realized maybe the direction you were going in school wasn't for you. It sounded like you started to make some kind of like severe choices, right?
Yeah, big life choices. Moving across the country, packing up the sedan, going from Michigan to Texas. I guess it's not across the country, but it was a big move for me. And focus on paying off that debt. And that's once I got my emergency fund, which is what we prioritize after paying off high interest debt. That's where I was like, I can finally start accomplishing the dreams I wanted to. And I was putting 10% down on a house here in Austin.
Oh, wow.
And that was my big goal.